Morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. And welcome once again to the wonderful Good Morning Walk. As always, you may have noticed the title for an exact reason. For those of you early enough, here's some Good Morning Pony. Well, Jennifer, good morning to you. But yes, it happened. Oh boy, has it happened. We were expecting the budget, and we're going to get into that later on, but as it's sort of, my main topic. Oh, Casper, good morning to you. We'll leave that till later, so more people get in. But yeah, I want to talk about Twitter some more this morning, because oh my. Oh, Paul, good morning to you. Good morning. But yeah, interesting things are going on Twitter. Very interesting, because there was a fake tweet. Oh, Dave W, good morning. I don't know if you saw it. There was a fake tweet, but to be honest, it was one of those things where because of the stuff that's going on at Twitter at the moment, it's like, is the fake more truth than real? There we go. Oh. There we go. I don't know. Thought I was going to get followed then. Catholic, good morning to you. Honeybird, greetings to the ponies. Greetings, good morning to you. But yeah, anyway, the fake tweet about Twitter was of someone claiming to be a Twitter employee. Oh, Carl, good morning to you. Paul, good morning to you. Catho G, good morning to you. Like I say, please do remember to hit that. Whoop. Hang on, I'm going to wade through the mud because it's very wet down here. Oh, Ben, good morning to you. Oh, Pretty Bird, good morning to you as well. Like I say, good morning to everyone that I've missed. Like I say, we are wading through the mud. Very much so. Oh. Oh. Oh, but yeah, Twitter has become an absolute hellscape. From what we know, it's practically got no more employees. Oh, Daily Blaze, good morning to you. Thonic, watch my step, don't worry, I will. Like I say, that's why I've got my wellies on. That's why I've got my wellies on. But yeah, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Have we had, some interesting action on that front? Whew. It's difficult to tell, because honestly, the question you have to ask is, who is actually left now at Twitter, probably apart from Elon Musk, who is desperately realizing he's way in over his head. Oh. And I think anyone would do the same. Yeah, Twitter office is just Elon frantically searching for memes. The man is a child, yeah. Elon Musk has buyer's remorse. Yeah, very true, Ben. Very true. But oh boy, it's unbelievable that a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people were thinking how much of a saviour Elon Musk is going to be for Twitter. and it's completely turned out the exact opposite. And to be honest, there were a couple of people putting that out there. Oh, Houghton, good morning to you. And then you got what we heard yesterday. And apparently Elon Musk had sent out a mass email with this new contract saying what amounted to what we've heard of a loyalty oath. That you were going to swear loyalty to Twitter. And I think anyone would agree that if your boss, turns out Twitter is a software project after all. Yeah. Yeah. He's completely scared off all the advertisers. I think the user base has pretty much all but dropped off on it. It's yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But I think if your boss, imagine for a second your boss emails you and says, oh yeah, by the way, I want you to sign this new contract, and by the way, I want you to swear a loyalty oath to the company. What? Just I can understand why they're all leaving, you know. I can understand why they are leaving, and not just like one or two people leaving. People are leaving in droves. Yeah, he totally co-anged it. Although I think the more apt term is he totally trusted up. I think that's probably the truer term of it. But it's an exodus, yeah. Well, this is it. I've had a lot of conversations with people about, oh, where do we go now? Because I've said before, I sort of work in this sort of area, and even I've said I don't know. There's been a lot of people pointing to like Mastodon as like, the answer to Twitter. Let's all go to Mastodon. But even then, I don't think people have flocked to it as easy as people have, thought. It's certainly grown its user base. That's true, but I don't know whether sort of the use case for it is really there at the moment. So 104 layoffs in Dublin out of about 500 people there in the Twitter office in Dublin. And the thing is, I think he's in trouble. Now's the time for the big MySpace comeback. Oh my God, that would be amazing if MySpace just came out of nowhere. Let's all go back to Tom and apologise. We're sorry, Tom. We're back now. Friends reunited. Let's all go to Bebo instead. Let's all go to Bebo. AOL 2.0 when. But honestly, I'm looking forward. I really am, because someone at one point is going to make a documentary about this, about the downfall of Twitter. Should we sign up to Truth Social instead? Yeah, we could do that. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Trump provided us the answer all along. Oh, Tesseract 54. Good morning to you. Maybe that was all right. Maybe Trump is a better businessman than we all give him credit for. Oh. But yeah, we've got crazy stories, honestly. If you look for them, you can certainly find them online of like Twitter employees telling you like what the past 3 to 4 weeks have been like. And I can't wait for the documentary of where you've got all the insiders coming out and saying, okay, this is what happened. This is the email. Oh, it's going to be so fun to watch. Because you've got the whole episode of like the rise of Twitter and then its fall when Musk buys it, essentially. Oh, Chili the Coder, good morning to you. But like I say, one of the crazy things is because there's been so much coming out of it. There's been a lot of like people pretending to be Twitter employees, and to be honest, some of them have been like come out and sort of, you know, oh yeah, it's fake. But to be honest, because of some of like the stories that we've heard being true, it's like it's easy to be taken in by them because generally so much like crazy stuff going on there. So one of my favorite ones that's been proven to be fake was one of them who was like, I think he claimed he was like a security guard in the office, and that he was in charge of like, you know, making sure that people's name badges worked and, you know, were tagging in and out of the office. And he said that, you know, Musk fired him, and then he got an email from Musk saying, oh, can I rehire you because our badges don't work and no one can get into the office? Again, it turned out, like I say, not to be true, but honestly, it was one of those things where you were just looking at it and just like, yeah, I could believe that happening. I could generally believe that happening. Oh. But yeah, that's still very much the sorry state of Twitter. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But yeah. But anyway, people, please do remember to hit the like and share button while you're here. Because like I say, we're on to our... Oh no. The geese. They're after us. I don't know if you can see them. Oh, there they are. Honking like crazy. Yep, chthonic Canadian geese, yep. Yeah, no one works at Twitter anymore. Oh. But yes, like I say, obviously what I've been talking about for quite a couple of, well, weeks now, what's in the budget? And, well, we certainly found out what was in the budget. But essentially the TDLR, really, of the budget was, we're going to tax you more and we're going to give you less in services. And part of the reason why the stream is called the Good Morning Walk and What Year Is It is because, you know, my MP, Dan Jarvis, I think another couple of other MPs said, you know, it felt like they were back in 2010. Mythil, good morning, we're all doomed. You know, he said, well, it feels like we're all back in 2010. So that is really the big problem of it. It's that a lot of people really depend on these services, and when they've already been cut to the bone because of, you know, previous Tory austerity, because the Tories love to make the noise of, oh yes, we're giving more money back to like, social services, etc. But it's nowhere near the level of what they used to have. And of course, our economy has been pretty much put into the toilet, not only by Brexit, but the pandemic, years of really sort of poor economic mismanagement, a lack and sort of refusal to really measure up, to actually level up the North. If they'd generally actually done that, it would have actually been a good policy. Like I say, I'm not against that as a policy idea. It's just that the Tories never followed through with it, going all the way back to the Cameron years of, the Cameron Osborne years of the Northern powerhouse. Didn't they say that H2 was on again? Yes. They've put more money into HS2. So it's being built. Then again, it was already being built. But unfortunately, still no northern leg, which is the big shame. Because we really, really, really need that northern leg. It sort of splits off from Birmingham and then goes up through towards Sheffield. Or is it not Birmingham? It's after Birmingham. It's Milton Keynes. But yeah, it would be a very, very much needed piece of infrastructure needed for the North. And if you may remember, I talked about sort of my own Barnsley Youth Choir and my own hometown of Barnsley just a couple of days ago. I'm not 100% sure if we've actually got that money, because while levelling up was talked about, we haven't actually heard if the bid was successful. Now, like I say, I do hope that the bid will be built. Is there the new Liverpool-Bradford whole line to be built? They talked about it, but it's what's going to be actually built. Is it going to be the full line? Because I don't know that catalogy at the moment. I don't know whether it's going to be the full line straight from, Liverpool to Bradford to Hull. I don't know if that's actually going to be built, or whether it's just going to be what's been talked about before, like Bradford to Leeds, which is sort of the cop-out that was arranged on that. We don't want to build a full line, but look, we're building some of it, Well, I suppose good that at least, we're getting some good infrastructure, but we're desperately in need of that full line. And I don't know if you saw, I've seen parts of it, but I haven't seen it all yet. Channel 4 did a panel show about the cost of living crisis. And to be honest, what some of those panelists were saying were really, really worrying. Because you've got a lot of people thinking, I don't know how I'm going to survive the next couple of months. And I think it's going to get a lot worse in the next couple of weeks. Because you've seen, temperatures falling very quickly. And we have had sort of a bit of a longer summer. So that's going to work in sort of the Tories' favour in a bit. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what's going to happen over the next 2 months. And that could be big problems for a lot of people over there. Big problems. Especially when they're trying to pay sort of the heating bill. And remember, a lot of people's heating bills have doubled or even tripled what they used to pay, or even quadrupled in some cases. And if you're a business, especially like a cafe or anything like that, well, if you're a small business, yeah, you've got a lot of problems coming our way. And what seems to be the big bet, or at least a big gamble, by Sunak and Hunt, is that they're trying to hope that they can bring inflation down. That is their hope, that somehow inflation comes down. There's no actual plan to bring down inflation. Like I say, I want to remind you of that. There's no actual plan to bring down inflation. It's just a hope. You know, just this random hope by Sunak and Jeremy Hunt that inflation comes down. Will it come down? I don't know, because aren't we at I believe we're at 10, are we at 11 still? I think we were, or we were like 10.5 or something like that the last time I looked. But yeah, as you can see, we've had a bit of an increase in water. In the river, Cathode G 11%. Yeah, and that's going to be, if you want to sort of see how the panic in the Tory party increases or decreases, have a look at how the budget works out. Because, oh boy, you know, the budget did not go down well. The budget did not go down well in many Conservative corners. As I think I posted sort of yesterday, the front page of the Daily Mail, complaining about, you know, the budget and what it was going to do. But of course, the big problem, is how many Tories go back into Parliament on Monday and start to cause trouble. Now, I think so far that we haven't really heard too much grumbling, other than the usuals. But if there's some serious, shall we say, grumblings, then Sunak's got some big problems ahead. Because so at the moment, it does look like the budget was going to pass. If you base it on the current sort of Tory talk and numbers, they know at the moment it's probably going to pass. Unfortunately, we're going to have to turn around at the moment because I don't know if you can see, the field behind is completely underwater. So we're going to have to sort of turn around and go back the way we came. But if the inflation comes down, he's done it. At that point, Sunak can say, my budget worked, I've brought inflation down. If the inflation stays or even goes up, then Sunak is going to have some real big problems, especially if it's the inflation starts ticking up. Because as we've said before, there's no real plan to actually bring down inflation. I mean, the Conservatives will say, at least what Jeremy Hunt's been saying on his rounds, is that this budget will bring down inflation. Now, whether or not that is true, I have basically seen, experts from all economic sides of the divide go, we don't know if that's going to work or not. And that it is a big gamble whether inflation goes up or down. Inflation will go down, but the government will take credit for it anyway. I don't know. I think if you've got the fact that we're entering into a recession, although technically we've already been in one, but the Bank of England really has been a bit, oh yes, we've had 0.1% growth. We're not in a recession. Yay! So things are going to get very, very difficult for a whole lot of people. And I think the energy crisis, I think coming out after Christmas in January in the new year, we'll really have to see what the business sort of situation is like. And one of the best ways you can actually tell what the business situation is like is the job market. Sunny, crisp and cold here. Well, it's a bit wet at the moment down here, Mithra. Like I say, I thought about calling it off this morning because I wasn't too sure about how sort of safe it would be for me to walk through here, even with the even with the mud. But now we're going to have to wait, because I still think we've got to see what the reaction from the budget was. Because obviously the budget was dropped on Thursday, so no Tories went home for their constituency days on Thursday because they all wanted to be there for the budget, but they all went home on Friday for their constituency days. And I think if there has been enough of an uproar from certainly, their constituents, then the Conservatives are going to go into Parliament on Monday morning, gather in their sort of, corners and groups, and that's when they're going to start plotting. What do we do about Rishi Sunak? Because I said it right from the start. Whatever budget Rishi Sunak puts out, it's not going to fly in the north. And so far, I have not heard one positive thing or negative thing. That's the key thing at the moment, because a lot of MPs are keeping very, very quiet, especially the Tories, because I think they're very much resigned to the fact that they are potentially going to lose the next election. So I think they're trying to sort of hold on for as long as possible. But what really comes up next is that certainly Starmer and the Tories are going to have some big clashes in the next couple of weeks, and certainly the coming months. And Labour is going to have to really come out on top. Like I say, Rachel Reeves' response to Jeremy Hunt's budget, if you haven't seen it, was absolutely fantastic. It was an absolutely corker of a response, and I think very, very much, well done to her in that response. It was a very good response, calling them out on sort of the nom-dom stuff. That was very good, and something I would be interested to see an attack line on from the Tories well, not the Tories, from Labour, because in focus groups, there have been a couple of focus groups done in the north about all these people who voted Tory last time in the Red Wall district. Would you vote for Rishi Sunak? Well, when you look at the polls from sort of the post Boris, asking people, well, why did you vote for Boris? The response was that they felt that Boris was one of them, which in itself was bizarre, but that's sort of the picture that Boris managed to successfully very paint of himself, really. And it is very, very much so that people are very aware of Rishi Sunak's wealth. They don't feel that he's one of them. So expect, I would see, a big image change, or at least a big push by Sunak in the next couple of weeks and months to try and sort of be more relatable. But he can't hold this coalition together. He absolutely cannot hold this coalition together, because the Red Wall and the Blue Wall voters want absolutely very different things. Very different things. And remember, you've got that video quote of Sunak proudly proclaiming that he took away money from the areas that needed it and sort of gave it to the more rich and affluent areas. And I've said before, I think next election, that clip, if I was Labour, I would make sure that that clip gets played and is constantly in the news, and he's brought up by every single Labour MP every single hour of every single day during the next general election. They would be absolutely fools not to take advantage of that. Because I'll tell you now, in the next election, let's say Sunak manages to sort of pacify the Blue Wall. And as of yet, there's no real data to say, has he secured the Blue Wall yet? There's no data to sort of justify that he really has saved the Blue Wall yet. But let's say he does. His problem then becomes he loses the Red Wall, and the Conservatives need in an absolute positive way to make sure they get every single Red Wall back. They need every Red Wall seat to have a majority at the next general election. If not, you go back to the projections under sort of when Boris was there, of him keeping the Blue Wall but losing the Red Wall. Labour would then look at going into coalition with the Lib Dems. I don't know if you can tell, it's raining, but it's that really fine rain where you can't fully tell that it's raining. But if when Labour gets in, will they pass PR? I think they're going to have to. I think it's foolish for Starmer not to pay attention to the fact that PR is massively popular and that has drummed up a lot of support, even among Tory voters. Because today's 12 o'clock video, I've actually got a video coming out about a hit piece on PR that's being dropped by Conservative Home. And like I say, we go through it all in the video later on today. But one of the fun points that I still think kind of funny is that every single comment below is coming out in support of PR. And remember, Conservative Home is like, you know, prides itself on the home of like modern conservatism. So that's fantastic to see that even among morning. But yeah, it is fantastic to see that even in what is meant to be like a bastion of like UK conservatism, that you've got the overwhelming number of them saying, yeah, we want PR. And you know, I've spoken about this before, that sometimes when you are after a political movement, you know, to really make a change, and especially a big change like PR, you really have to reach across the aisles to get it done. You know, and I've said this before about you know, rejoining the sort of single market, the customs union, and even the EU. That has to be a sort of very cross-party effort. It can't just be you know, people on the left or, you know, people on the right, because they'll never get it done. It's the same for PR. We've really got to reach out for, you know, us in the PR movement to say, yeah, you might be a conservative, and you know, we might, you know, disagree on various other things politically, but you know, we both recognise the need for, you know, constitutional reform and why we need PR. So that is a big step forward, and the fact that that article, like I say, you'll see in the video, it was a massive hit piece. It did not go down well in the comments, and yeah, it's a good sign. It's a very, very good sign, to be honest. And even then, because, well, so one of the big arguments is for PR, because we'll go into PR quickly, but we've been into this before, but I think it's worth going over again. So why would someone on the Conservatives want PR? Well, first of all, they recognise, just as, you know, people in Labour recognise, that their votes in certain areas don't count. And as someone said in the chat just a moment earlier, you know, PR is all about making sure that votes aren't wasted. So that is even an argument that works for someone who is a conservative. So bear that in mind. There we go. Oh, where's the chat one? There we go. There we go. So even they recognise the fact, because there's a lot of arguments, you know, for PR, you know, that even many conservatives would agree with. Sell it to them by the saying, be able to reform another. Here's the thing, though. Someone in the comments did actually say about that, which I was so pleased about, because obviously to comment on Conservative Home, you've got to be logged in, you've got to be signed up as a member. You can't just comment anonymously. And someone had commented saying that, because they made the argument in the article that oh, we'd end up sort of electing these, extremists. Oh, wouldn't it be awful? Wouldn't it be terrible? And then someone in the comments goes, well, actually, hold on for a second. If you had PR and UKIP sort of came back, they'd only have one seat. And in fact, they even go on to complain about the fact that in other, European countries, very often it's the Green Party that can become kingmakers in, in sort of the in event of a tie or someone wanting to be king. And I think that I think if you add up the numbers, I think the Green Party gets about 8 or 9 seats. It might even be 10. It might even be more than that. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I looked up the numbers. But the Green Party, with that many much more seats, has a lot more power than UKIP would with just his 1-seat system. And yes, he'll probably do, his Farage thing, which he did when he was in the European Parliament, of standing up, making grandiose speeches, but he'll just get ignored. Most extremist parties in America, not America, in sort of Europe where PR exists, they tend to just really get ignored in a very, very big way. And while we would get smaller groups, that would also be, very good for our politics as well. I've just seen someone in chat there comment about Labour splitting between sort of the left and far left. Good. Good. That doesn't bother me either, because you then get a situation where what I've talked about for years, that people on the far left have to realise that sometimes to get their sort of stuff done, to get their ideas, sometimes they have to compromise. Because that is the essence of politics. And I know that upsets a lot of people very often when you say, oh, but you have to sort of, compromise. Yes. Because even if like Labour, there's like this, socialist party split off, they're not going to be a massively strong force. They're not going to be a massive, strongly electoral force. So even if they want to get in power, or they want to do a deal, let's say with Labour, to support their government, they would have to compromise. And that means getting about, maybe it means getting like 30% of what you want. And I've said that before. I would rather get a Labour government that gives me about 30% of what I want than continue with a Tory government that gives me nothing of what I want. That is the big, compromise that a lot of people on the left sort of refuse to acknowledge as certainly our current political reality with sort of first past the post. And until they realise that there has to be, a compromise, the left won't ever get in. And then once they start to compromise, they can actually start to put their ideas forward. They would actually start to work and see a bit of traction. Then they can push for more of them. And yeah, big money, you are right there, big money is a problem, but big money is a problem regardless of any political system. And of course, I think it's definitely something that we need to sort out. Chatty Rat. It's what happened in Ireland. Centre-left, Labour and Soc Dem parties, and hard-left socialist and people before profit parties. I think it will be any PR system and any hope of like a lefty group, or at least the left being in power, will rely on centrists, because we've explained this I don't know how many more times. In the UK, there are more people who identify as centrists than there are people who identify left or right. Think about that for a second. So if the left ever truly wants to get into power, it has to appeal to the centrists. Like it or not, that's how our current political system is. That's the numbers. Because it very does often come down to a numbers game when it comes to elections. And, I would love to see, power, water, be nationalised. But I recognise the fact that there are people in the centre who don't want everything nationalised. And that, unfortunately, is the centrist position. So you're going to have to make compromises. And yeah, you are right, FSM. PR is not a panacea. It's not the real solution to end it all. All it would do is it would change our political system, and it would certainly change the way that people vote. But the arguments that would come from this new political system would be about compromise and, working together and forming coalitions. Why do the Lib Party always perform so poorly when they are political centrists? The argument is a bit weak, honestly. Not really. It's really not. Because since sort of the Cameron years, Cameron pulled the party, at least the Conservative Party, towards the centre. And the thing is, when it comes to centrists, they are very, very much very sort of right-leaning when it comes to sort of issues on the economy. And the thing is, with centrists, you don't know which way they're going to lean on certain subjects or certain issues. So there is always a big sort of problem that the Lib Dems always face, is how far to the left or right they lean. Because if they lean more to the right, they lose the centrist left. If they go the other way, they lose more of the centrist right. So it's a very hard balancing act for them. And especially one of the other big arguments that happened at the last election was that people got scared of Corbyn. People were terrified of Corbyn, especially the centrists right. So at the last election in 2019, they felt that they had to vote for a Conservative, because if they didn't, they were worried about the fact that that would allow Corbyn to get in. And that's why the Liberal Democrats lost a lot of votes in 2019, because the right wing successfully managed to scare the crap, literally, out of all those right centrists to say, if you don't vote for the Conservatives, you're going to allow Jeremy Corbyn in. And it worked. It worked big time. And you've got to always think about the bigger picture in politics. yes, it's great to sort of, constantly talk about how good leftist policies are, but until sort of people on the left certainly realize that there's this huge block of voters, even bigger than sort of the left and right-wing voters combined, it's hard. It's they've got to realize you've got to compromise, and that means things. That means you can't go fully socialist, and I know that upsets a lot of people, me even saying that. And I know that does, and I think Keir Starmer, has done a good work at sort of pulling back a lot of those centrists. And yeah, he has lost a lot of the Labour left. And I agree, that is going to be a sort of a problem. And we have to rally those people on the left who go, look, you might not like Starmer, but I know you hate the Conservatives even more. So you're going to have to vote Labour at the next general election, or maybe even Lib Dems, depending on how much tactical voting is going to sort of favour into the next election, to make sure you don't let the Conservatives in. Because I do not want to hear at the next general election people on the left coming out and saying, well, the only reason we got another Tory government for another 4 years is because I didn't vote Labour or I didn't vote Lib Dem for whatever reason. So I'm going to spend the next, 4 years complaining about how much I hate the Tories. Unfortunately, that is a predominant attitude with a lot of people on the left, and it absolutely, I hate it so much, because you've got to really understand the politics. You've got to look at the bigger political game, and until a lot of people on the left really accept that, that's it. And it sucks, and we have this conversation, I don't know, so many times, but it's true. We wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't. So yeah, and of course you've got the 2019 general election as well, which obviously has a lot of people in the north voting Conservatives purely because Boris Johnson really appealed to him. He sort of served as a man of the left. Or, well, he sort of served as a more relatable figure. Certainly more than Jeremy Corbyn did. And a lot of people on the left cannot even admit that was a fact that drove a lot of people who would traditionally vote sort of for left parties, for Labour, can't even admit that. And that's the general sort of political position we're in. But until that realization hits, and I think PR will certainly encourage that. PR will absolutely certainly encourage that, of sort of that compromise that they've got to hit. And I've said it before, if we're on the left, we cannot make political changes until we're in power. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough, and like I say, I'm standing here in the rain getting wet. So time for me to go back, have some breakfast, and I'm going to play some Dark Tides, 40k Dark Tides, because I am enjoying that game so much. Cleansing the heretics in the Hive City. So yes, thank you as always very much. Oh, thank you very much, Cathology. Supreme Court rules on India F2 on Wednesday should be interesting. Yeah, that's something to sort of watch out for as well. But yes, thank you very much as always. Thank you very much, Cathology, for your support there. And thank you very much to everyone else who, like I say, does support the channel. Like I say, even if you do click the like and share button, down below there are links to my Patreon page, my one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. There's also the Pony Club. You can join as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you very much, Daily, as well. You have a great weekend too. Thank you very much to Conic for sharing some of the perks that you get. Like I say, the more of you that join that, the more I can go back to my graphic designer and get some more made as well. And as always, have an absolutely fantastic weekend, everyone. And as always, thank you very much for joining me as always. Have a fantastic weekend. And as always, if you can't be safe, be sensible. And we'll see you next Wednesday for the Wednesday Night Live. Or if not, we'll see you next Saturday for the Good Morning Walk, unless something drastic happens. But to be honest, I'm not expecting it. But you never know. We'll have to see what happens on Monday to see how well, shall we say, the budget has gone down with with the Tory party as a whole. So far, it seems to have been a grudging acceptance that it's something that they've had to do. But as always, we'll see you next weekend, and we'll see you then, as always, for the next Good Morning Walk.